This is Destination Unlocked with me, Daniel Edward.
Just about ready to depart.
Please make sure your seatbelt is not fastened and do make yourself comfortable.
Hi, welcome back to Destination Unlocked, where today we're heading back to sea, and indeed it's with a friend of the show. Kaye Holland, who's a travel journalist, is back with us, hot off the heels of her inaugural cruise on the Legend of the Seas. This is the brand new Royal Caribbean ship, biggest in the world, and my goodness, it's got so much on it. Kaye had an amazing time, as you're about to find out. Enjoy. Kaye, welcome back to Destination Unlocked. What are you unlocking for us today?
Well, today, Daniel, I'm unlocking the world's newest and largest cruise ship, Royal Caribbean's Legend of the Seas.
So exciting. You've just got off the inaugural cruise, which must have been exciting in itself. But can we just start with the scale of this thing and what it was like to just arrive and see this monstrously huge, how it stays afloat, I've got no idea. This thing is massive, right?
It's absolutely enormous. And you're right, it's impossible to talk about Legend of the Seas without doing the numbers. It's longer than the Shard and the Eiffel Tower. Its maximum capacity is like 7,600 passengers. It is just staggering. And when you see it, it's overwhelming. And I had 4 full days on board, which for inaugural sort of shakedown sailing for travel journalists and media, that sounds a decent amount of time, right?
I would say so.
Honestly, I could not have got around and seen the ship and then had the confidence to come on the podcast and share it with you today if I hadn't had those 4 full days. There is so much to see and do. It's pretty overwhelming. But the whole thing I think about Royal Caribbean, the ship is the destination. Yes, we did stop in Italy, but actually the ship is the destination in itself.
Did people get off when you went to the port?
Some did. I'd say about 50%, but usually on a cruise, that's half the thing, isn't it? You get a taster of the destination. I'd say about 50% people, travel agents and journalists that are familiar with Royal Caribbean's Icon class ship, because Legend is the third in this particular class, they got off. But if you were new to Royal Caribbean or you'd never experienced the Icon class, quite frankly, they stayed on board.
It's only because they couldn't find the gangway. So I used to work at Royal Caribbean. This was the very first cruise line that I worked at.
I forgot that. So you did.
The largest ship that I worked on had 4,500 people. And already that was quite sizable. And you could get through a whole week and still be meeting new people by the end of the week. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, have you been on this whole time? So I'm imagining that on one as large as Legend, you are seeing new people all the time.
You pretty much are. It's one of those things. There's a couple of people that you do keep bumping into, no matter the size, you do keep bumping into. And then there are other people I knew were on board and I never saw them. Never saw them. Didn't see them in a show, didn't see them in a dinner. Some people you had to specifically say, hey, let's meet at this time in Central Park, which I'll tell you about a bit later, for a drink. I think that's one of the things about ships this scale. If you don't want to be bumping into people constantly that you know, that's great. But if you're a solo traveler and you want to meet up regularly, it's a harder one.
And a lot of cruise lines, and Royal included, do have a solo program. Some cruise lines do it better than others, but they'll facilitate a meetup on either the first night or a lunchtime on a sea day to help people get together.
That is true.
But the thing that I find with Royal Caribbean, where they stand out for me, is that their activities program is so full that if you want to meet people, it really doesn't take much to have that opportunity to go and join in a game. You make friends with people quite naturally just by joining in.
You absolutely do. And I think this ship, it's not for shrinking violets. There are so many activities, so you have to be quite social and up for it and wanting to try these things, and therefore you'll meet like-minded people.
What sort of things were going on?
Oh my goodness. There's so many water parks and rides. There's an attraction called the Crown's Edge, which honestly, I completely wimped out. It's this sort of thrill ride. It's a skywalk, ropes course, all rolled into one. Daniel, it extends out over the ocean's edge. 154 feet it was above the Mediterranean Sea. It's my idea of hell, but it was very, very popular. Is it something you do?
It's something that I would say I would do, but you just describing it has made my palms go a bit sweaty.
Yeah, it wasn't for me, but kudos to everyone that managed it. And then, of course, you've got the surf simulator, there's rock climbing walls.
And these are Royal Caribbean classics, aren't they?
Yeah, these are Royal Caribbean classics and will just sort of really suits anyone that loves the vibe of a big ship and a resort. You know, like if you're thinking of the land-based equivalent, it would be a huge all-inclusive resort, or like a Centre Parcs, I suppose. There was just something to keep everybody busy at every hour.
And one of the great skills of a good cruise director when they are designing a program is dividing people up so that one area isn't overwhelmed with people and another area is empty. I think this ship has been very nicely designed to help people spread out so that even though there are a lot of people on board, you're not necessarily feeling it all the time. I was just counting the number of swimming pools. There are a ton of options.
There are, I think it was about 7 swimming pools. There was also a hideaway, adults only area. So you're right. It's not like everyone's crowding around one area. There are a lot of spread out areas. And I actually found this area, I just mentioned a little earlier, Central Park. Are you familiar with that?
I love the concept.
Yes, it's a fantastic concept. So every time I thought, oh, maybe Legends just a little bit loud, perhaps it's getting a bit too rowdy, I went to Central Park, which was on deck 8. And it was this plant and bird song filled oasis. It had 35,000 real plants and bird song was being piped in. And you just pinched yourself. You'd look around and think, how is this actually on a cruise ship? And it was also lined with sort of quieter cafes and bars. There was this great spot called Trellis and a cafe called Central Park Cafe. And there you could just breathe, slow down a little. It is non-stop, but there are also quieter spots too.
Central Park is such a special place. I saw it on Allure of the Seas because it was the Oasis class where they first launched it. And it's a different feel. It's a chance to totally relax in what feels so natural as you're walking through. You lose this concept of exactly where you are, being on this very super saturated in colour ship. It's a very in-your-face brand. And then you go into this little oasis in the middle and you can breathe a bit.
You can. That's exactly it. A little oasis where you can breathe. It was honestly my favourite spot on board.
I can see why. And heading towards the aft of the ship from Central Park, you end up in another neighbourhood, which I found quite interesting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that was very, very clever how there are these 8 neighbourhoods and each is designed to appeal to a different kind of traveller. So Surfside was all very candy coloured and bubblegum hued, and it was basically for families and kids. But I thought that was really, really clever to have these neighbourhoods, each designed to appeal to a different type of traveller. I can't stress enough the level of detail that had gone into building this ship.
Being in those meetings when they were playing with ideas to get this thing up and going must have been amazing. What a privilege for those people. Royal clearly has the funds to make anything happen that they want to make happen.
Yeah.
And so to sit in that room and say, hey, what do you think about this? And actually get to see it through is incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, the only limit is imagination with Royal Caribbean.
Yeah. One of the areas which I would love to see, I wonder if you went to one of these shows, was the new Aqua Theatre, which has moved on this class of ship to the front of the ship at the top in the dome.
Oh, that was probably my absolute highlight. I saw the show on the first night. Daniel, it was just absolutely... I mean, look, I'm lost for words. It was absolutely staggering. Shockwave was the show, and it was this very high energy aqua show. A lot of the performers actually are former Olympians, and it combined diving, acrobatics, and sort of synchronized swimming and aquatic choreography. And yeah, your jaw just dropped.
I think I'd try and be there every night. How does it work with the shows then? Because you've got so many different venues that you could be going to. Do you need to book before you arrive? Is there a box office on day one?
Royal Caribbean, a bit like so many cruise lines, they're going digital. You have to download the app in advance. That's where you get your boarding pass. They call it a set sail pass, but same thing. That's where you can see the daily program. And that is where you make your reservations. And it is essential. I pretty much made reservations on my first day for the week. So you do have to be organised. if you leave it and wake up on the day and think, oh, I'll go and see the show tonight, you can always go along and you might get in, but it's popular, especially the Aqua Show and the ice skating show. They're so popular. So book is my tip. And not only book, don't think I've booked and I've got a ticket and I'll show up 5 minutes before. Definitely show up at least 15 minutes before to make sure you get a seat. They're very, very popular.
I remember this from years ago. Seating in these theatres is a competitive sport.
That's very well put. That sums it up exactly.
But you've got 3 main theatres. So you've got the Aqua Dome at the top. You've got the ice skating rink, which I think has been rebranded. It used to be called Studio B. This one is called Absolute Zero. And then you've got a main theatre.
Which there's been a lot of buzz around. The main theatre is where you can go and see Roald Dahl's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the first time it's been put on at sea. And that was incredible. And they actually had, which surprised me, 2 children that are rotating, playing Charlie. So the guy we saw, young boy from Wolverhampton, he was about to get off the next day and go back to school. And then in 6 weeks, he'll come back on board. So they're rotating. It was just this phenomenal show. I'm a theatre lover. I spend a lot of my disposable cash either on travelling or going to the theatre. And I've been very fortunate to see a lot of West End shows, a lot of Broadway shows. This would not be out of place on either.
Are you enjoying this podcast? Give it a review in your app while you continue listening. 5-star ratings get independent podcasts like Destination Unlocked noticed. Thank you for supporting independent podcasts.
I'm absolutely bamboozled by that. A child crew member. That's bonkers. 6 weeks.
I was watching it to start with thinking, is that a child? Is it an adult playing a child? But no, it was actually child actors.
Wowzer.
They were fabulous. It was honestly, if you're a Roald Dahl fan, it was just brought to life.
That's amazing. They have made themselves a reputation over the years of being absolutely top option for these Broadway caliber shows, which actually, I can't find a better word, and this is the wrong word, but proper shows.
You're right. I'd heard that, but I was a bit skeptical until I actually experienced it in sort of my own eyes. And I'm not going to mention other cruise lines. All I will say is it makes other cruise line entertainment. And I mean, when I'm talking about other cruise lines, I mean the big mass market mega cruising. It makes it look a little cheesy, perhaps a bit end of pier. It's an overused phrase, but it really was next level.
It was one of the hardest things for me, actually, leaving Royal Caribbean, where I was saying at the beginning of a cruise, you are about to experience the best entertainment at sea that this world can offer you. And I think that is still the case. Royal keep impressing me with the level of their entertainment. The budgets must be monstrously huge, but it's worth it. Oh my gosh. America's Got Talent is on board as well.
Didn't get to see that actually on my sailing, but America's Got Talent on board. So the options, you could be on for a week, 2 weeks, and you could see something different every night, but you'd have to plan it. What I had to plan around it was my meals, which sounds like such a first world problem, but I'd be like, oh, I'm going to see that show at 8:30, and then I'm going to go and see that one at 10:30, and I've got to fit in the dueling pianos and the karaoke. So actually a couple of nights, I ended up just going to the Windjammer buffet, despite there being so many venues, just because I needed a quick 30-minute dinner before I went to my next show.
You sound like a crew member.
Exactly.
I just got to squeeze it in my break.
You've got to squeeze it in. But there actually a lot of restaurants, having said that, like the main dining room, they would say when you sat down, hey, Daniel, are you going to a show tonight? What's the time? Do you want 1 course? Do you want 3 courses? And they would work around your show's schedule.
The slickness of that operation. Think how many plates are going out in one evening's service. And they have to be able to get you to where you want to be at whatever time you want to be there. It's an amazing operation. What sort of food did you have?
Well, I'm a vegetarian, so I didn't go to any of the more meaty ones. But I mentioned the Windjammer buffet, which I was blown away. You think a buffet, you think pizza, pasta, a bit of salad. No, they had a Jamaica night one night. I live in Brixton in South London, which is Little Jamaica. No, as good as anything that I would have here at home. The main dining room, I was actually very, very impressed with that. Actually, I've got another tip for you. In the main dining room, they have their menu for each day. They also have off-menu items which aren't listed. I said, I'm a vegetarian, I'll go for whatever it was. I think it was a sort of veggie steak on the thing. And then the waiter said, actually, we've also got this. And it was an Indian thali outfit. And I said, okay, I'll try that. So if the waiter suggests something off menu, go for it. It was an Indian chef and it was phenomenal.
Oh, I like the idea of secret menus. It means you have to get in with the team, don't you? You're like, oh, shall we? Come on, what's tonight? What's your secret?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I went to the Aqua market. They've got 5 new food stands there. So I love the Spanish one. They also had a Korean one. But I think the 2 dining venues that are really getting the buzz and grabbing all the headlines, one's called Royal Railway, and it's this immersive train-themed dining journey. And the other one, which I didn't get to experience, is the Hollywood Supper Club, where you've got multi-course meals served to live jazz. If I was going back, that would be on my bucket list. I will say, such a cliche, but bored with an appetite, because the amount of dining options is staggering.
And the quality is good.
The quality, given how many people you're catering for, surprisingly very high. I thought it was higher than lines of the same ilk. There was a great cafe in the middle of the ship, 24 hours, Pearl Cafe. Royal Caribbean's an American line, right? I wondered if it was going to be very American. I would eat, but would I eat well, in my opinion? Was it going to be burgers, pizzas? No, I was having beershire muesli, blueberry parfaits for breakfast, beetroot salads for lunch. You ate a lot, but it was quite easy to eat healthily too.
You did this cruise in Europe, and they'll be picking up some of the food locally. And that's something which I've noticed as I've cruised around the world into different regions. You use the ingredients that you're able to get on board. Certain things like the meat, for example.
Yeah.
The American cruise lines all seem to order their meat from America, and they will have it shipped to the ship. And so your beef, even if you're cruising in Asia or cruising in Europe, the beef is probably still coming from the States. But things like local vegetables, local cheeses, that sort of stuff comes locally. I used to love it when we cruised in Europe because the cheeses, for example, are, in my opinion, so much nicer. But back to these special supper places, they look fabulous. They are the sort of places, the Hollywoodland Supper Club, the Royal Railway Legends Station, where I would, in London, think, oh, that's a good night out. I would, on land, when you've got all of the options available to you of a city as varied and diverse as London, these are places where I'd be like, yeah, that looks well worth going out for. The railway one has really got people talking. You're sitting in what looks like a carriage, and the windows are screens. Is that right?
Exactly, screens of the destinations. So you're having dishes inspired by China, and then the scenery is reflecting China. You're having dishes inspired by India. It basically traces the ancient Silk Route, I think is the idea. But all your dishes are then sort of mirrored in the scenery. Very, very clever.
So does that mean that the whole carriage is eating the meal at the same pace?
It did feel that way, and you had dining times. Our time, for example, was 6:10. And then the next one was a couple of hours later. So I think, yes.
Because, yeah, your window matches what the next table's window would be.
And I will just say the other thing that was so cool about this is when I got back from my day's activities to my cabin, there was like a railway ticket printed that railway master requests my presence at this time. So every detail was just phenomenal.
That I love.
And it sets that special excitement, doesn't it? Like, oh.
Yeah, because a lot of lines they're saying it's for the environment. I don't buy it. I think it's for the budgets, but they're getting rid of a lot of the printed material. But there's something so exciting about getting a ticket, and then you can turn up to your dinner with your. It's an immersive experience from the minute you get back to your room.
And you know what, Daniel? You're going to think I'm very cheesy and geeky. I saved the ticket. It was so fabulous. It's like a little souvenir.
I can think of so many people who would be putting that into a scrapbook. And scrapbooking is back in, from what I've heard.
There you go. Ahead of our time.
Yep, exactly. People have had enough of technology.
Yeah, I can see that. Actually, going back to what you were saying about everything going digital, you do book all the shows and you can see the itinerary for each day in the app. However, there is a printed version in the cabin, the compass, which tells you what's going on. Is it environmentally friendly? No. You could have a potentially 7,000 passengers on board. So to put one in every cabin, did it make it easier? Yes. There's something about having a piece of paper and walking around and tick, tick, and I can see this.
Well, especially because there's so much going on. I love the paper. I'm very old-fashioned in that sense. I would, the night before, look through it, underline.
We've had this discussion before. I think we're probably two of the only people on the planet that still buy and use guidebooks too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if you don't travel with a highlighter, what are you doing?
You're not traveling properly. I agree.
What was your room like?
Oh, you're just going to think, oh, how spoilt is she? I stayed in a family cabin, which is a bit crazy, right? Because it was just myself. It was an infinite balcony cabin in the Surfside zone. If you were traveling with kids, what fun. It actually had this hideaway bunk space for children, even had their own TV. It was such fun. And then you'd go into the main area where you were the parents, but obviously, lucky me, had it to myself. And it had a generous sofa. And then it had this very cool sort of conservatory / balcony, could change to either the push of a button. And the other thing that I thought really stood out was the split bathrooms. So there was one bathroom that had the toilet and a sink, and then another one that had a sink and a shower. So if you are a family and you're getting ready to go out in the evening, you can get ready at the same time. It doesn't take one out of use. I'd never seen that before, actually. It was very cool.
Oh, that's very clever. They have put a lot of thought into how people are going to use the space. I saw your video on Instagram, which was great.
You're aware of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've loved your videos watching the cruise. Tell everyone your Instagram handle.
Oh, thank you for the plug. It's Kaye, Kaye, Kaye with an E, O Holland. I don't always do videos, Daniel, but it was just too fabulous to not show and share it with everyone.
It was so funny watching the one about your room, because I think, again, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. I think the children's bunk bed has actually been inspired by the crew cabins, because, and this is something which I must say Royal Caribbean have done a fantastic job. They've done a lot of research over the years to decide what's the nicest way to have to share a room with a stranger. Because that is essentially how it works for crew. You turn up and you get given a room and you don't know the person you're going to be sharing with. And now you're living in this relatively small space with them in a bunk bed. And when I was in those positions in the bunk bedrooms, it was a regular bunk bed at the end of the room. And then you shared half of the wardrobe each. And you got a shelf and he got a shelf and you had a bathroom. And then they were like, if we turn the bunk beds so that they're now in an L-shaped configuration, both of them will feel like they have more space for themselves. And it's true. And then I saw in the video that you put on Instagram, the way that they've done the kids section of this family suite is an L-shaped bunk. And I was like, aha, I wonder where they got that idea from.
Ah, there you go. All these insider little glimpses from you.
I was wondering, with the infinite balcony, you were in the Mediterranean, it's summer, it's quite hot. Did that balcony, that's sort of an inside-outside balcony, make your room quite hot?
Well, you're probably talking to the wrong person. I'm never hot. I've got this thing called Raynaud's, where unless it's 30 degrees, I have white hands and feet. So no, but also don't forget, it's an American company. There's AC. What to happen most of the time, Daniel, I'd get back, and actually this is a true story, I'd get back and it was like an icebox. So no, it was not too hot. And in the end, like this lovely cabin attendant, Gennaro, he was such a sweetie, I ended up writing him a little post-it note. Dear Gennaro, please, could you not turn the AC up? When he said, oh, Kaye, Miss Kaye, I'm so sorry. I said, no, it's no problem. He said, every other guest wants the AC on. No, I don't like that AC at all. So no, it wasn't. And it had a blind. So if you did think it was getting too hot and you were going out for the day, just press the blind switch and the blind comes down, which can keep it cooler. And actually talking about that blind, I have to tell you, there's no cruise line, there's no hotel that I've slept so well, because I had the blind come down. So it was a blackout blind. Then I had curtains. And despite the fact it's this enormous ship, it was so quiet that I woke up in the morning and I'd be like, what time is it? I literally have a panic. Oh, you know that feeling when you wake up and you have no idea what time it is? That never happens for me at home in London because I've got the traffic, the light comes in. It was incredible. That's the way to sleep.
I would have thought that it would be quite a noisy ship. So that's amazing to hear that you can get good rest. But also it brings me on to wondering about the neighbourhoods, because this room, the family suite, was in the Surfside neighbourhood. Makes sense because that's a very family-focused part of the ship. When you're looking to book a cruise on the Legend of the Seas, or indeed one of the other Icon ships, do you know the neighbourhood that you're going to go to? And can you choose it? And is there a neighbourhood which is quieter than another neighbourhood?
There is. Chill Island, I think, is a calm space. There would definitely be other ones for sure.
And there are so many different types of room. I'm just looking on the Royal Caribbean website. They've got deck plans. And these deck plans, oh my gosh, it is like looking at a town planning site, because they've got all these different types. Inside rooms, outside rooms, double inside rooms that are really outside rooms because of the central park going in the middle. So you've got balconies over the park. You've got balconies over the surf side at the back. Then you've got the outside ones. Then you've got these magnificent corner suites at the back. I'm on deck 8 at the moment, and there's one of these suites. It's called the Ultimate Family Townhouse.
Oh, that's the one I've seen all over Instagram, where you can kind of slide from the floors. Again, heaven if you're a kid. Absolute heaven.
It's
Actually,
wild.
If you're a big kid even, we'd love it.
Yeah. And then there are rooms which they specifically mention interconnect as well, which is very handy. If you are a family, you don't want to be in the family suite that you had, or maybe you've got even more in the family than, say, 4, then there are quite a lot of interconnecting rooms.
Yeah, which is a great idea, isn't it? If you're a family or traveling with a group of friends, even the interconnecting rooms.
Your room was overlooking the actual sea, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I have to say I'm quite biased. When I'm on a ship, I always want to over. You could overlook Central Park. I knew friends and acquaintances that were doing that. But for me, I always want to overlook the ocean. I'm always going to splurge and not have the inside cabin, even though you can save money that way. There's something about just sitting, looking out to sea. It's one of the simple pleasures for me. Some people would rather save the money for excursions, even for those dining experiences you mentioned, the Hollywood Supper Club and the railway, they'd have a cost. And I will say, with a ship like Legend, you don't spend a lot of time in your cabin. So people would perhaps rather save money and spend them on the add-ons. But for me, I'm always going to have an ocean view if I can.
And what are the add-ons? What sort of things do people tend to end up spending the most money on board?
It would be those 2 dining experiences. They would cost extra. Some of the more adrenaline-thrilled activities, I mentioned the Crown's Edge. Well, we wouldn't perhaps be doing it because we're both scaredy cats, so we'd save money. But if you wanted to do those, they incur a cost. Like many of the sort of mass market big lines, if you want your Wi-Fi, Royal Caribbean are very encouraging because there's so many innovative ideas on board. They want you to share it on social media. But if you want to do that while you're away, you'd need Wi-Fi. Even if you just want to keep in touch with friends or family, send them a WhatsApp, you need Wi-Fi. So you have to buy your Wi-Fi packages. I had a Wi-Fi package for one device. It was a pain. Having to log out of my phone. Don't forget, I know my life sounds like a big holiday, Daniel, but it was a working holiday. So when I was logging out of the phone to log onto the laptop, it was a pain. And then you'd miss messages from people on board saying, hey, you're coming to this, book this. And I'd be logged out for 2 hours while I was working. You probably do need 1 or 2. So that costs. Drinks packages, that's the other thing. I mean, there are so many fun cocktails on bar. There was a bar called 1400 and Lou's in Central Park. The cocktails were just out of this world. But if you want to try those, you need a drinks package, or you pay as you go. That would cost you. So much is included, but I think if you got carried away, it'd be very easy to push the price up too.
Yeah, that's what I would be worried about, because I remember when I was there, and this was quite a while ago now, the drinks were already about $12 a pop. Plus, then you have to pay this gratuity on every single drink. Yeah, the service charge on every individual drink.
So I think with that, you need to, it's a bit nerdy and boring, but do the homework before your cruise. Is a drinks package worth it? If you're going to be trying a few cocktails each day, ordering them separately, paying for the gratuities on each order, have a look what a drinks package is, and is it worth doing it? But then, with the drinks package, if you're traveling with a companion, a loved one, a friend, the other person in the cabin has to buy the drinks package too. So if they're teetotal, it doesn't work out. So there's a bit of maths involved there, but definitely worth doing.
This is something which industry-wide frustrates me because I'm not a drinker. And so a drinks package on me is a total waste.
It's a total waste on me.
And yet they all insist. They're like, if you're going to do it, you're doing it for the whole cabin.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one thing I'm not on board with, pardon the pun, about cruising at all. I do have a couple of drinks, but that's it.
Yeah. And there are a lot of different bar options on board. This ship has not only some of the classic Royal Caribbean destinations, but also some new ones. The ones I remember, Schooner Bar and Boleros, and they're both on board.
Yeah, they were both fun. There was the Playmakers. Did you have that?
That had just come in, the sports bar one.
Because the World Cup's in full swing and England were playing while on board. So that was packed at all hours with people watching the World Cup action. So that was a fun one. My favourite was the dueling pianos.
Okay.
Did you go to that one?
No, that didn't exist at the time.
Oh, well, you're familiar with Holland America. I think they have a similar concept, don't they?
Yeah.
On board there. It was such fun. It was just great fun. I love that one, the dueling pianos. And there was a karaoke place too, Spotlight Karaoke. So many bars. And then, as I mentioned, this 1400, which was opposite the Pearl. Oh, Daniel, we haven't talked about the Pearl.
Yes. And this is something which got so many people excited ahead of time. They sort of teased this when they first launched the Icon class. There's this big ball that seems to exist in the middle. Like, what is it? Is it just a photo opportunity?
Well, everyone does use it as a photo opportunity for sure. There's everyone snapping selfies. But the Pearl, it's this sort of very striking 3-story kinetic sculpture. And then when you walk through it, this is the crazy thing. It sort of puffs gently in and out as you walk beneath it. And it's really the heart of the ship, but it is so striking. It's the first thing as I boarded, the first thing I was greeted with and noticed.
Okay, so you got on board directly into the Royal Promenade.
Exactly, directly into the Royal Promenade. I don't know if it's usual for Royal Caribbean. There was the fanfare with everyone dancing as I came onto this little red carpet. So the excitement and the holiday vibe literally starts from the minute you board. I think the word that would describe my whole experience on Legend is just the energy everywhere. And the dance parties at night, it was brilliant.
It sounds so positive as well.
It was positive. It was happy. Oh, the world's a mess, right? You just go. There's no pressure to do anything apart from have a good time. And we had a good time.
The other thing that Royal have been doing recently, talking of like having a good time, positive energy, bringing that feel-good stuff, they've got what's it called? It's a dog, Chief Something Officer.
Oh, is it the Happiness Officer?
I think it might be. Skipper the dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I met Skipper very briefly. I think she's like 5 months old. She was very shy. Can you imagine coming on such a big ship and so many people? And I wasn't quite sure about having a dog on board.
I'm not sure what the official duties are.
Well, I will say that Skipper seemed very happy. She was being exercised on the running track every day. Of course, they can get off. I think she was a very pampered pooch, Skipper.
It must cause them such a hassle if they were to go into certain countries with all the different biosecurity laws around. But I suppose a ship like this, as you said earlier, is the destination.
It very much is the destination. And I was speaking to a few kind of Royal Caribbean industry bods while on board, and they don't really like to call it a cruise ship. It's a destination to them. I scoffed at that at the beginning. What are you talking about? This is a cruise ship. Look at it. It's an enormous cruise ship. But after a few days on board, I did realise, I get it. Wouldn't even know I'm on a cruise ship. And because it's so massive, it's actually very smooth sailing.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not really rocking a lot. And the Med Sea is pretty calm too at this time of year. So you wouldn't know you're on a ship at all. And the way it's designed with the neighbourhoods and that central park, I got it. It was a destination in its own right.
It very much is like an island. It's just a vertical island instead of spreading out wider.
Spot on.
I've still got these deck plans up, and every deck is just totally full of options. I really don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
Really? And that's coming from you, Daniel.
Yeah. I don't think it's humanly possible to get around this whole ship.
Well, I did you proud.
Yeah.
I did you proud. I mean, it's such a girly thing to say. I was eating and drinking so much. So I thought, let me put my gym kit in. Let me go to the gym. I went and checked out the gym and it was very impressive. Did I need to go to the gym? No. Every day I was clocking up 18,000 steps just from walking around the ship. So I think it also goes back to that. A lot of people, the old stereotype of cruising is you go on and you're going to disembark a stone heavier. I think I was probably a little bit heavier.
But that's muscle from all the walking between places.
I like that. Thank you, Daniel. But, you did get your steps in. And as I mentioned, the healthy food too. It's easy to balance it.
Did you feel you had time to develop favourite places on the ship and sort of relax into it? I see on what they're selling, there's actually quite a wide range of itineraries from 3 and 4 day right up to a couple of weeks. Is this a ship where it rewards you for spending longer on board?
Yes, quite possibly, because just of the sheer scale. But I think it also depends what you want out of your holiday. If you're a group of friends or a family and you just want a short break with no intention to get off the ship, then you could, like what I did, hit it in 4 days. If you want to do the ship and you want a taste of the destination, you definitely need longer. 2 days, forget it. You need 4 days, 4 days minimum. Often you see with other cruise lines, they've got like a long weekend, don't they? 3 nights, the mini cruises. A mini cruise, in my opinion, will not work on Legend of the Seas.
No. And you could indeed leave feeling frustrated because you know how much you didn't see.
Exactly.
The thing that I love so much about this, even though I do think overwhelming is a word which could very fairly be used about an icon class ship such as Legend of the Seas, but it's escapism at its finest.
Yes, I think that is it. It was a happy ship. You can just escape. I think my verdict, I was trying to tell a few friends when I got back, despite what Royal Caribbean don't necessarily want to think of it as a cruise, for me, it's cruising for people who want to embrace cruising for what it is. Non-stop activities, pizza at 2 a.m. at Sorrento's, magicians, live musicians, piano bar sing-alongs, theme nights. Do you know, on my sailing 4 nights, there was a theme night every single evening. Every single evening. Tau sculptures, that's another thing. I'd come back to my cabin every day and Gennaro had sculpted some amazing animal creation on my bed. And the waiters, I don't know if they did this when you were on board. They were from all around the world, Indonesia, Kenya, the Philippines, India. And they were all dancing in the restaurant entrance, trying to do songs, washy washy, to get you to wash your hands, obviously. And then they'd be dancing as they deliver these sort of theatrical cocktails that you've got to press with a bubble to drink. So I just thought it was fun. For some people, that'll be the opposite of escape. But for everyone else, if you're families, groups, and you want a holiday with zero pressure, I just thought that Legend made a very good case that sometimes bigger really can be better.
The wrap-up, roundup, quick-fire finish is now ready for boarding.
Thinking of Legend of the Seas, what is your top thing to see or do on board?
Oh, blimey, that's tough. Just one.
Try.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try the Aqua Show just because I've never seen anything like that on land or at sea.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. What's a tourist trap or a mistake that a first-time cruiser here might make that you could avoid?
It's not specific to Legend, but we touched on earlier the drinks packages. I think you could be told the drinks package, sign up, and it actually works out as an expensive mistake. So be wary of the drink packages. Perhaps go online, look at some of the cruise blogs, work out what the cocktail prices are and how many you realistically will drink.
Another thing with the drinks packages, and I meant to mention this earlier, if you're working with a travel agent, you can sometimes negotiate extras through them of saying, look, I'll book it with you, but can you throw in a package? And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I can throw in parking at the cruise port if you're going from your own country. Or, yeah, I can throw in the basic drinks package. You never know. It's worth asking if you're going through an agent because they have a little leeway sometimes.
Good tip.
What's your favourite time of year to get out on a cruise?
My personal favourite, always the winter, when UK is under a dark blanket. That's when I want to be cruising. But for a ship like this, you could go any time of year. It's about the destination. It doesn't really matter what the weather's doing outside. But for me personally, I want to be cruising November, January, February, March. That's my ideal.
I'm so with you on that. Do you have a book or a film that you'd recommend to people?
That ties in with Legend?
In a way, or cruising, yeah.
Oh, why don't we just go for any of the Pirates of the Caribbean, swashbuckling adventure? You can't beat that. Or it's a bit depressing, actually, but if you want a sense of the scale of legend, Titanic. But Pirates is a bit more upbeat, right?
I find it fascinating when people, every time a new ship comes out, especially a Royal Caribbean one, because they're so big, there's always somebody online who puts a comparison between Titanic and this new ship. And you see how small Titanic really was, even though at the time it was the biggest ever. What was your absolute best food or drink experience on board?
Do you know, a bit left wing here, I'm going to go for the main dining room. That Indian curry I had on my final night was incredible. So I think my tip is don't write off the main dining room. Most people usually go to the main dining room as a last resort, right? It was brilliant.
And to ask about those secret menu options.
Exactly.
And final question for you. On board, there are quite a few shops. There's loads of things that you could get, lots of branded goodies. What would you say is a great souvenir that you could take home from a holiday on board Legend of the Seas?
Oh, I've come home with a couple. I've come home with this fluorescent, because I do like bright colours, backpack, which I've been using in the summer here. But if I was going to pick one or two, a cap, which says Legend of the Seas. That's great. They were in orange, they were in pink, they were sort of in really fun, vibrant colours. Or if you met Skipper the dog, the merchandise around Skipper, little statues, cuddly toys, that was fun too, because that's quite unique.
That's so clever. That's the real reason why he's employed by them.
Probably the merchandise around Skipper was incredible.
Oh, they're good. Very, very clever. Kaye Holland, travel journalist and more as well. Thank you so much for unlocking Legend of the Seas for us.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Daniel.
Thanks so much again to Kaye Holland for unlocking the Legend of the Seas for us. What an exciting ship that is. So much going on. If you go on it, I hope you send me a message because I'd love to hear your experiences. Do make sure, by the way, follow Kaye on Instagram because you'll see those videos that we mentioned of her room and her other experiences on board the ship. And whilst we're talking about following, do make sure you're following the Destination Unlocked podcast wherever you're currently listening. That way you'll be able to find us again nice and easily the next time you want to go armchair travelling somewhere fantastic. I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.